Folks, we're visiting today with Jack Taggart. He is the owner of New River Farms Sawmill in Fayette County, West Virginia. Jack, thanks for being on the show today.
It's great to be here.
Positively West Virginia is powered by BreezeLine high-speed fiber internet and sponsored by Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Key of Morgantown, and Storymaker. With the help of these sponsors, we are able to share the positive business stories of West Virginians, including the one featured in today's episode.
I mean, it's an age-old business. It's a simple business and concept. We're the community sawmill. That's our mission. So our mission statement is transforming local timber into products that build and steward the New River Gorge region.
I love that. So take us back, Jack. How did you get started? First of all, when did you get started with New River Farms Sawmill, and how did you get started?
Yeah, well, it's been an idea for years that we were going to start an agroforestry farm, things like chestnuts and maybe pecans and all that kind of stuff. And then I bought a sawmill a while back just as a hobby thing, and I realized it was such a confluence of my passions. My background's in civil engineering and my hobby is woodworking.
Yeah.
And so this mix of, and I just got it thinking that I was going to cut some of our trees to, build structures and stuff.
Yeah.
But I ended up realizing I think this could be a profitable business. Fingers are still crossed, right?
Yeah.
But
when did you get started?
It was about a year ago that we incorporated, but we didn't start cutting until July.
July of 2024.
Yes, sir.
So it's a new business. It's a startup. I think that's amazing. So you mentioned you have an engineering background. Tell us a little bit about your background. Where did you grow up?
So I'm from Nelson County, Virginia, which is right below Charlottesville. So my background, I'll say background in that I have a bachelor's degree in it, but not a whole lot of experience, right? So I went to college, commissioned straight into the Army, was an engineer in the Army. And then around that time, couple of years in, I kind of knew that we wanted to get out. So we started looking for land in West Virginia. We'd come vacation to the New River Gorge area and whatnot while we were in college.
Fell in love with it.
Right. So we started looking and the perfect place popped up. So we had gotten that. That was probably about 3 years ago that we bought the place, and we finally moved up last year.
So you went to VMI.
Yes, sir.
For your college training. Thank you for your military service.
Oh,
You're in the Army. Your wife is in Air Force.
She was, yes.
Yeah, Air
correct.
Force. Yeah. So thank you both for your service. That's
you.
very much appreciated, and it's pretty awesome
Absolutely.
background. So you have this idea. You're going to move to West Virginia. You buy some land in Fayette County. What was the main draw to West Virginia? I mean, obviously, you said you like trees and you like woodworking.
Well, my dad told me, that I'm the 10th generation actually of West Virginian, even though I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah.
So it dates all the way back to the 1760s as a Taggart in West Virginia. So, man, it was just always so neat how kind of rugged it was, even though it was just across the border. It just seemed like a world away. There was just land to be tamed almost. And I mean that very figuratively. It just seemed like such a cool experience to move to a place like that.
It's kind of like the new frontier,
exactly,
so to speak.
Yeah, harsher winters and just more mountains. I'm here for it.
Rugged individualism,
Right.
You got to pull yourself up by your bootstraps a lot of times here in West Virginia. So, Jack, you mentioned you bought a sawmill. What in the world is a sawmill? Is this a big old blade or what?
No,
what is it?
It's like band saws that you have in your shop that are vertical, right? Well, this is horizontal. So it's a trailer. That's all that it was a trailer. And I bought it off of a farmer in Missouri when we were stationed out there. Just a little thing, right? So, it's about 20 feet long and, 4 feet wide or something. You could throw a log on it and then you could just sit there and cut it. But it was all manual in that, you cut a board and you got to pick it up and then turn that log manually and everything. So hard work to not get a whole lot. It's just satisfying, right? So now we have a much bigger one, but we've still the sawmill is the item. We cut up to 25 feet logs and everything. And this one does a lot of work for us. It's got a lot of hydraulics and stuff, right? But at the end of the day, like I said, it's still just the bandsaw turned sideways. It just goes up and down the track.
Okay, I got
cuts
you.
it up.
I'm jiving with this. All right, so let's talk about like the end products then. You have the sawmill, you got raw logs, lumber,
Right.
timber coming in. What are you creating? What is the end product that you have you take to market, so to speak?
Yeah, so we have the end product that we have now and the end product that we're going to have this coming year, which the end product we have now is green lumber, so I see you got, wood furniture in here. Well, this was made using dried lumber because,
in a kiln?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So lumber's kind of like a sponge, over time it just squeezes out all the water and shrinks up, right? So we serve a lot of people that are, building barns and chicken coops and these cool live edge beams, huge beams and whatnot. A lot of outdoor stuff. We did a lot of house and cabin siding, things like that. But we're installing our kiln actually within the month, and then our planer and our wood finishing thing. So we'll be able to still offer our previous products, but all the way up to things like live edge slabs, kiln-dried hardwoods, premium grade stuff.
That's great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the source then from this raw timber. Is it coming from West Virginia? Is it?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. So
yeah, I think the furthest log that we've gotten has been 30 minutes away. So
no kidding.
Yeah, there's a huge resource here. People say it's the third most forested state in the country, right? So the resource is here, and there's not really any sawmills. There's a few little guys kind of like me or smaller in Fayette County, but there's no big major mills in our area. So they're leaving the county. They're driving at 45 minutes to an hour to get those logs out of there. So they come basically from next door or just down the street. And yeah, our supply chain is really small, which is good.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, that's very cool. And are you technically in the Hardwood Alliance zone then, where you're at in Fayette County?
I don't know.
You don't know that. Well, I put you on the spot there. We had a fellow in here from Barber County a couple of weeks ago, and they were talking about that was one of the. He moved his company. He's basically doing. It's not a sawmill, but they're taking lumber and making planing it down into hardwood floors and moldings and things of that nature. And the reason he moved his business from South Carolina to West Virginia, to Barber County, Philippi, Belington area, was because it was in the Hardwood Alliance zone. One of the reasons.
I'll have to go back and watch that podcast.
You have to definitely check that out for sure. Well, I think it's really cool, and those specific products and what you're doing is fascinating. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back. Stay connected with an unbeatable deal from BreezeLine. Voted best in Mountaineer Country for their reliable, high-speed fiber internet for a low cost, BreezeLine is the best gig in town. Here at Interaction Media, we rely on high-speed internet every single day to ensure we can deliver the best content possible for our clients and when we publish Positively West Virginia each week. That's why we use BreezeLine. It's affordable, fast, and they're great people as well. Learn more about BreezeLine's internet, TV, and mobile options at breezeline.com. Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Jack Taggart. He is the owner of New River Farms Sawmill. Jack, we were talking about Neil Forest products. Mm-hmm. Alan Neil was in the studio a couple of weeks ago, and he's the fellow that I was talking about in the hardwoods. Maybe you guys could connect and team up on some projects. I think that'd be super cool. Now, I always like to ask folks their 30-second pitch. In other words, if you meet somebody for the first time and they say, Jack, what do you do for a living? What do you tell them in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'd say that we're a common business that aims to do things uncommonly well. Again, it's an age-old business that's not going anywhere. So we take, again, local products and convert them into the highest quality product that can be made out of them with as much due respect to us, the people that work there, the loggers who take down the trees, all the way to God who produced the tree in the first place, to the person that's receiving the product.
What I hear you saying is that you want to be great stewards of the resources.
100%.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. So, when I hear about lumber and I hear about timber and I hear about forestry and forests, what's the most common type of wood that you're seeing? Is it oak? Is it pine? What do you see?
I think actually 65 to 70% of what we cut last year was poplar.
Poplar, okay.
Yeah, yellow poplar.
It's typically a very straight growing tree, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's great because we're not a region that has a lot of southern yellow pine, which is what a lot of, that's what your desk is right here.
Yeah.
2x4s and whatnot are made out of that. So when people want something to side their building, for example, and they want something that's affordable, that's a softwood, they can actually drive a nail in it, poplar's a great option for that.
That's great. That's good to know. I always wondered that. And what are some of the other types of woods that you're seeing?
We cut a lot so there's hemlock in the region. There's a mill up the road that exclusively cuts hemlock.
Okay.
So, we're always in a little bit of competition for the resources there, and again, I think he's doing a great job. So I kind of leave that to him, but a lot of oak, white oak as a mainstay, cherry, not a lot of walnut, but people love it. So as much as I can cut it, we do.
Yeah. That's super
I think
cool.
we have about 15 species right now sitting in the yard.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. That's kind of just one of those little personal questions I always often wonder. Like what are the most popular types and most prolific, I guess, here in West Virginia?
Right.
Jack, what would you say is the thing you're most excited about for new River Farms Sawmill?
Yeah, I'd say what we're most excited about is this spring we're opening up a retail store.
All right.
So it's on site. It's nothing fancy, right? But it's just it's another touch point that we're going to get with customers that doesn't involve like me stopping work at the mill, bringing you in through all the sawdust and wood scraps to show you around. So we'll get you that. And then, like I said, we got that kiln getting fired up here in the next couple months, which is going to like triple our market. You know, and
that's great.
Everything in your house is kiln-dried.
Yeah.
So that
very important.
Exactly.
Very important step in the process. Jack,
Big time.
We connected through the Hive, which is a Fayette County area initiative in the economic development and so forth, I believe.
I think it's the whole southern West Virginia area.
Southern West Virginia.
Yes.
What's your connection to the Hive?
Yeah, I joined the Hive a year ago. I just called them basically as soon as we were thinking about starting a business. I looked up West Virginia Entrepreneurship Program and I found them, and I just called them. I'm like, hey, some of these answers I can freely find, but I'm just looking for somebody that I can kind of ask questions to, like right now we're looking to bring on a full-time employee, for example. I'm just like, hey, who do I need to talk to? What resources do I even need to think about? And because they get these questions all the time and work with so many other people, they can kind of help steer us in the right direction. So,
that's amazing. Yeah. Do you have a specific person that you work with down there?
Yeah, Mary is who we've worked with.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's very cool. And they also, the Hive, serving Southern West Virginia, also recognized your company as Startup Business of the Year for 2024. Can you tell us a little bit about what that meant?
Well, I don't know the criteria to get that award, but
you were nominated.
We were nominated, and I guess there was a panel. It was, it was just very humbling to know that. At the end of the day, I figured it was just our customers that had kind of noticed that we had started up, but
more than likely,
they noticed, and that was, if nothing else, just kind of reaffirming that people like our award.
I think that's really cool. Now you're located in Fayette County. Whereabouts in Fayette? What's the name of the town?
It's Clifftop, which is in Dainese. Okay, so everybody knows where Babcock State Park is. Yep. We're their neighbor, so we're right next to it.
Yeah, Clifftop, West Virginia.
Right off Route 60.
I love it. Where are your customers coming from? In other words, is it a geographic range, or is it just kind of is it backyard type?
Yeah.
Neighbors?
Well, we were really expecting to be the local people, like if you're outside of 20 minutes, you got another local person, and we've had people from 5 minutes away. We've had people drive 2.5 hours. I would say our average customer drive is an hour.
Wow.
So
that's impressive.
Like you said, we're in Fayette County. We're 45 minutes to Beckley and an hour to Lewisburg. We get a lot of customers from Beckley and Lewisburg, Summersville, and a fellow drove from Huntington the other day.
Amazing. What's the most interesting thing you've experienced being in business just a short time?
Good question, but I think it's just been a little bit overwhelming in a good way
Mhm.
with just the seasonality of, some days it's like you can't even keep up with the amount of phone calls you're getting, and just there's so much stuff going on, so much excitement. And then there's some days, like when it's -6 and there's 30 inches of snow on the ground that, it's just like, okay, now what do I do with my time?
I guess I got to shovel the parking lot or
Exactly.
whatever.
And do it again.
Yeah,
And then
that's
do it
good.
again.
That's good. Well, that's really fascinating, and I think it sounds like you were almost a little surprised at your early success that you've had so far.
Well, I was surprised. We're almost like the same seasonality, I guess,
Yeah.
right, as a landscaping business
Yeah.
right now, because we offer stuff for outdoors. Well, so I kind of took a lot of our seasonality to mean like, okay, we're manufacturing, and I guess this is now just the trend that we're going on. So I
Yeah.
was kind of shocked at how many people were just willing to buy stuff in the fall or in the summer when we first started, like we're the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
Um, the winter time rolled around and it got a little bit slower, but the customer base has been great.
As a new business, starting in July of last year, 2024, how did you get the word out there?
I would say social media was a huge one. So, we have a mile of road frontage down there,
Yeah.
and it's all straight. We put this great big sign down next to the road, but there's no phone number on it or anything, so people are forced to Google us. But Facebook was great. We just did an introduction video, right when we started, and we paid, I think, like $100 for the ad. It reached like 20,000 people. We got a lot of calls just from that.
Yeah.
So social media, things like Google Maps and Facebook has been great.
Yeah, Google My Business.
Exactly.
Making sure folks know where you're at. How much land do you have down there?
It's about 200 acres.
Wow.
And all.
That's a nice chunk of land.
It's
So
a
were
good
you
chunk
able to
of land.
harvest your product right from your own property?
We haven't been. No, just because honestly, the timber's not what we're looking for at the moment.
You want the cutting of the timber.
Yeah, and there's already guys cutting timber.
Yeah,
At any
need to
given
do-
point, I don't need to find loggers to come in and
Yeah.
log our land and everything like that.
Yeah,
so.
that's cool. That's a nice chunk of land. Congratulations on that, for sure. This is Positively West Virginia. We'll be right back.
Your prescriptions are designed to keep you healthy, active, full of life. At Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, we're making vital medicine more affordable. Because when your prescriptions don't cost an arm and a leg, you can use those limbs for something more meaningful. Because life. Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield, West Virginia.
Folks, we're back. We're visiting with Jack Taggart. He is the owner of New River Farms Sawmill in Fayette County, West Virginia. And this is it's a great story. It's a new business, really started in July, officially doing business in 2024. And I'm just really thrilled. The Hives Startup Business of the Year Award recipient in 2024. Jack, in terms of growing your business, here you are, coming up on your 1 year anniversary in July. You're still several months away from that, but how do you grow this business? What's the biggest challenge you're facing?
So I'd say that traditionally, and this is not I'm not hating on anybody here,
sure.
but traditionally, like working at a sawmill is super hard work, and it's not. Usually, people don't think of it as the pinnacle of your career, and I don't mean that in any bad way, but usually it's attributed to kind of as low a wage as possible, right, to get as many people working there, and that is not our goal. We're trying to be a lean business, right? So we're trying to grow very thoughtfully, but we really want to bring on, a couple employees to help at the end of the day, like, moving boards. There's only been so many boards like one person can move at a time, you know what I mean? Or cutting wood or whatever it is.
Right.
But so we're trying to really be good stewards, not only of the resources, but any of the help and employment that we can bring on, right? So I'd say our next step is, we've got 2 great part-time employees right now. We'd like to get a little bit more help. it coincides with, on the customer side of things, we want a retail experience. We want people, if they're driving an hour anyways to come see our stuff, they want to stay. Like, I want them to enjoy their time there, and we owe it to them to give them the best experience possible on that side of things. And then just being able to offer as much as we can, but still staying true to our mission and not diverging down different paths that, we shouldn't be.
Yeah. It's hard sometimes to stay focused on the long term, right? The vision of what you have, because everything can sometimes seem like an opportunity, but it becomes a distraction in the end.
And every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else.
Yeah,
so
that's opportunity cost. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So it sounds like you've got a really good feel for like the customer experience. How did you get that background?
At the end of the day, like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. I did a lot of research on wood and things like that, and I've always been fascinated by it. But at the end of the day, it's like every business shares a lot of commonality of, and I'm not trying to quote anything from your book here, right? But like, at the end of the day, people don't want to just have, like, they hate telemarketers, right? Just the same as they hate just getting stuff sold to them. Yeah. So, like, we believe in our product and the path that we're taking. But I'm thinking back to when I first got interested in cutting wood, was back in high school, was visiting a sawmill for the first time, a local sawmill.
Yeah.
And I was just mind blown, because I thought they were only these massive industrial things that ship stuff out to Lowe's. But what he did was kind of where I'm trying to go, which was, producing the super high quality stuff locally and whatnot. Yeah. And I was just blown away. And that was honestly like a life-changing experience for me, clearly, because I'm in the business now, right?
Yeah.
And that's just not a feeling that you get when you walk in a big box store, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Well, take us back to that moment where you walked into that sawmill.
I had just kind of gotten interested in working with stuff other than like 2x4s. And this was in Virginia. It's called Black Forest Sawmill. I haven't been back there since, because I moved away years ago. But they have an incredible retail experience now. But when I went, it was literally just a garage. Like, I walked in this garage, and he's got, I don't know, 45 different slabs leaned up against the wall. And he just took the time to sit there and talk to me and explain things that I had no clue about.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away that it's like, this stuff is available to me. And not only the item, but the knowledge of the owner and the person that was sitting there working. It was an experience like you're not used to when you go to a place. I'm not hating on anybody here, but when you go to the big box Home Depot or cut that out, right? The big box home store.
Yeah, right.
So
no, 100%. And I thank you for sharing that experience, because I think we're all drawn in by that, and being, kind of, in your words, blown away to be driven to say, someday I want to do that. And here you are doing it.
Right.
That's pretty cool. And I get that. And I think that's what, especially I find with a lot of West Virginia companies, because the small businesses here in West Virginia, I'm talking, companies, less than 250 employees, that's the backbone of West Virginia's economy. People like yourself, people that are taking a risk, have a vision, put their when I say taking a risk, they're putting their money on the line to go buy a sawmill and say, hey, let's go buy some land in West Virginia and start this thing.
Right.
And, I think about, when it comes to the customer experience, it sounds like you want to treat people the way you like to be treated.
Absolutely.
The golden rule, if you will, right? And that's biblical wisdom. That's not Jim Matuga wisdom. That's just that's a 100%. Fact, and I feel like that's that's really a cool way of looking at it. And I think a lot of businesses would do well to heed that advice. Just put yourself in the shoes of the customer. What are they looking for? How do you make yourself different? Right. How do you stand out from the big box competitors and the mega corporations? Right. And I think you have it's absolutely doable. You just got to figure out what that looks like. How do you connect with those customers and provide that experience that they can't get anywhere else?
Right.
Is that safe to say?
Oh, 100%. And I told everybody this when I started calling around asking for logs and things
Yeah.
like that. I'm not trying to put anybody out of business. I'm just trying to serve the people that might want to buy the product.
That's pretty cool. Yep. I like that. Jack, you're an Army veteran. Again, thank you for your service. You're a leader in Fayette County. You're a leader, in the military. Talk a little bit about what do you think is the most important attribute of a successful business leader today?
I would say doing the work. At the end of the day, I don't have an office right now, but and I don't want to preach to anybody because I'm not really sure that I'm capable of doing it. But at the end of the day, it's like you as the business owner need to be the one that's willing to do every job, like everything. And if you're not willing to do it and you're going to ask somebody else to do it, they already know that. Your employee is already aware of your feeling towards that task, right?
Yeah.
And if they ever are thinking that you're in the office to avoid work versus in the office to get them more work or get them better pay or whatever, they know that. Everybody knows that. So I would say being the example, don't expect anybody to be more invested in your business than you are. It's not possible, right?
Yeah.
And they're definitely not going to be invested in the business if you're not the best example that you can be all the time. And it's something that I try to work at all the time. And I know that I'm not the best, but that's
great insight. I appreciate you sharing that, Jack. You mentioned that you listen to podcasts to get some business wisdom and knowledge. Is there any particular ones that you like more than others?
Well, you're saying other podcasts other than yours? Yeah. So I'll give them a plug for it. The Baker and the Farmer it's a podcast about brick and mortar businesses. And it's one of the guys, the baker on there, is somebody that's been a mentor for a long time. So they just started a podcast, I think, about a year or two ago.
That's cool. I'll have to check that one out.
It's like every episode's like an hour to 2 hours, and it's loaded with really good stuff.
Yeah, that's great. I'm like you. I have one of my core values is lifelong learning. If I'm not learning, then I'm dying. That's what I feel.
100%.
And I've been in business for a long time. I've owned my own company. We're in our 14th year. And
That's
so
awesome.
I still have so much that I want to learn. So I appreciate you sharing that too. We'll make sure we put a link to that in show notes for folks as well. Thinking about somebody, and it's kind of interesting because I've had several guests over the last couple of months that have moved from out of state to come to West Virginia, and then they start a business here.
Right.
I think that's awesome. We hear like when a big corporation opens up a plant or something like that here in West Virginia,
press release and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But here you are, a little under the radar, Jack, you and your wife. And I think, is there advice that you would give to somebody who may be listening to this saying, I wanted to start my business, but I've just never figured out how to get started? What would you say to them?
I would say be relentless. Like every idea that you have isn't going to be great. And if you take time to like let your foot off the gas, there's so many stumbling blocks that are just waiting for you. So just, like I said, just be relentless. Like do not stop, just keep going. I guess time will tell if we stick around, right? But again, it's like, this is my hobby now. I didn't do this because it was like only a way to make money and then I want to do everything else on the side. Like I'm living my dream right now. There's no reason to stop what I'm doing in the evening. I mean, definitely want to be a good father and a good husband and everything and take time for that. But again, it's like this is what we're going after. We're going to make it work, just being relentless.
I love that. Be relentless. And I love the fact that you kind of said that this is your hobby. I think you meant that this is your livelihood, right? This is where you're going.
Well, it exactly.
It's your passion.
But this is my passion.
Yeah, it's your passion. And I love that. And it comes through. Right. And I think it's so, when I hear be relentless, I also hear the words all in. Like 100%. You're not turning back. You're already invested. You're going, you're building this thing.
Right.
You got a retail shop that's opening up. You got the kiln getting ready to fire up.
Exactly.
What does the kiln What's the fuel source for it?
Electricity.
Electricity.
Yeah, we've been waiting a long time on electricity. I'm
I
not
was
hating
wondering
on
about,
the
like,
power
do you
company
actually
here, but
like fire the wood up to like
No.
dry the
you can. They make those, but I guess I'm too lazy. We just plug it in.
electric kiln?
Yep.
All right, that's pretty cool. I should have asked that when you were talking about the kiln, but anyway, there it is. So, Jack, we've covered a lot in this interview. Is there anything else? And first of all, thank you for just being so open and talking about
What's
your
the point
business.
in having
and,
an interview otherwise?
I love it. Is there anything else you think our listeners should know about you personally or your story?
No, not personally, because at the end of the day, this is completely about like the customer.
Yeah.
Like I love what we're doing. I'm super passionate about this, but what I really want to do is provide, a product and a service that people want, and that people have been asking for and longing for.
Yeah.
And so, no.
Yeah, that's awesome. Jack, as we close out our time here, how can our listeners learn more about New River Farms Sawmill and even maybe get in touch with you?
Yeah, so nrfarms.com is our website. We have a YouTube channel. We try to put stuff on it. I haven't been super diligent about that over the winter, but Facebook is a lot of updates get out on that. So again, Google Maps. In general, if you look up Sawmill in Fayette County, we're going to show up at some point. So just keep an eye on the interwebs.
Again, tell folks where you're located there in Fayette County.
Right. So right off Route 60, like you're going to Babcock State Park. We're on Route 41. It's right next to Babcock State Park. So if you can find that, you'll find the 6-foot saw blade hanging down next to the road.
Yeah,
and you
just smell for the sawdust. And
Exactly.
It'll lead you right to Jack's place.
That's right.
Jack, that is awesome. I just want to remind folks, Jack Taggart, New River Farms Sawmill. It's been an honor to have you on the podcast again.
Great
Thank you
coming
for your
up here.
military service, you and your wife. I think what you're doing is amazing. I feel like the be relentless advice is really profound, and especially as a startup. Congratulations on your startup of the
Thank
year
you.
for the Hive down there in southern West Virginia. And I just want to encourage you to keep up the great work. I think it's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome.
Folks, that's another episode for Positively West Virginia. If you or someone you know would be a great guest on our show, drop us a line on our website at positively.wv.com. And of course, we appreciate your comments, your sharing these podcasts of stories just like Jack Taggart's to get the word out there about the amazing things that are happening in West Virginia business each and every day. On behalf of our entire Positively West Virginia team, including our producer today, Mr. Jimmy Murray behind the controls, I'm your host, Jim Matuga. Stay positive, West Virginia.
We'd like to thank our partners, Highmark West Virginia, Freedom Kia of Morgantown, Interaction Media, Storymaker, and our studio sponsor, BreezeLine, for helping to share these positive stories. If you'd like to become a sponsor of the Positively West Virginia podcast, visit positivelywv.com/sponsor.